And we are recording. So this week in our COVID worker stories, we're going to have Amelia Bumstead. Amelia, please introduce yourself and what union you're with.
My name is Amelia Bumstead. I am with Weidman Electric, Union Local 43 out of Syracuse, and I'm working up in Plattsburgh.
Which is great. I love the city of Plattsburgh. It's a great town. For many people who don't know, a lot of times people, when they join their union, it's because they go to a unionized workplace, but it's different in the construction trades. So what attracted you to try to go and work in the construction trades?
I worked at Lowe's down near Oneonta for like three and a half years. And I was working, selling roofing and decking, siding, things like that there. I had a lot of homeowners come in and ask me, questions pertaining to electrical and wiring and things like that. And I never really had the answers for them. So most people couldn't answer their questions. So it seemed like there was definitely a lack in experienced electricians as far as the knowledge goes. So when I applied for the trades, I figured that would be a great thing to get into, and it was interesting to me.
And what was that process like?
I actually applied online. I had a couple of friends in who showed me how to do the application, and I did the application online. I got called in for a test, which is an aptitude test. It's about 3 hours long. Does everything from math to English, things like that, and you score in that. They take a certain percentile of those scores, and then they interview you in front of the board, which is 6 or 7 people usually. So you score in the interview, then they take those 2 scores and combine them and pick the top scores out of that group. So the year I got in, there was about 18 of us. Now kids are, taking in about 55 kids usually.
Yeah, a lot of work going on, especially out in, you said you're in the Utica area with the chip plant and MBCC and the hospital being built. So, probably you're going to be working a lot closer to home pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Definitely.
Yeah, that trip to Plattsburgh can be a little rough going all the way up there. So,
Yeah.
what was it like when you became an apprentice, especially first year apprentice going in? What was that like?
It was kind of a shock for me because I didn't really know what I was getting into. Everything was all new. I was really green. I'm good with bookwork and classwork and things like that. So that part didn't really bother me, but the hands-on stuff I had never done. So it was just kind of a learning curve. I had a lot of guys in my class were already in the trades, and they were already, had some experience. So they came in and they knew what they were doing a little bit. And I was, kind of fumbling through, but they gave me a hand when I needed it. So.
And yeah, and being a first year apprentice, you probably had to do your fair share of grunt work, right?
Yes, definitely. Yep. Move material, sweep floors, all the things that, the skilled guys just have you guys do because you're brand new.
Yeah. Well, I always say it's kind of like, in a little way, it's like hazing in a way, but, it's like you're really you're paying your dues. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Everybody does it. That's part of learning the respect and, helping the guys who have been in for 20, 30 years. So.
Mm-hmm. So especially, you're saying guys and things like that, because, the construction trades tends to be very male dominated. So being a woman come into the trades, what was that like for you?
It was a little intimidating at first. I'm the only girl in my class, so that was a little bit adjustment to get used to working with all, majority guys and having school with guys and things like that. But I get along with all of them great, and they were all really helpful and really respectful. So I never really had any problems, in that aspect. So I got lucky, definitely.
Well, especially now with more, like you said, more coming in now. Are you seeing more women coming into the electrical trade?
Yeah, I would say so. Like I said, they're taking in 55 kids or so, and usually there's 3 or 4 girls in those class sizes. I was only one because our class is so small, but there's quite a few in now. And although there's some retiring, I'm seeing quite a few younger, female apprentices. So.
That's good, and it is. It's as the workforce is really starting to change overall. as
Right.
far as demographics and things like that. So seeing more women going into the trades is actually, and especially in such a male-dominated industry, it's really kind of inspiring to see.
Yeah,
Someone
it's
like
great.
you, and
Definitely.
yeah, and so when you're talking about like then you're going through your apprenticeship, you go through 5 years, and then you become a journey person. And
Mhm.
what did it feel like when you became a journey person?
It was great. It was a big, sense of pride, a lot of accomplishment, 5 years of schooling and work and, all the training and things like that. And it's really awesome to watch all the people in your class, top out and go on to run their jobs or, they're all doing all kinds of different work. So it's really great.
Mm. And then, although you had a little disappointment this year, because usually, talk about what happens usually when you get through your 5 years and then you become a journey person.
Yeah, usually we have a celebration dinner. So we'll have a get together with everybody in the class and their families and the board and everybody from our hall, things like that. Um, and they'll have an actual graduation ceremony. But this year we did it over Zoom, so we had a little congratulatory meeting on there, which it was nice. It was very nice of them to do. So
Mhm. I know you got a lot of that going on now. So many people,
yeah,
like kids don't have their proms, graduations have been drive-throughs, or
right,
so yeah. So this is another victim of the pandemic.
right.
And so during, especially when the pandemic first happened, were you working at that time?
Yes, yep. I was working right here in Utica on a apartment complex because it was a essential job at that point. So the other trades had some layoffs, things like that, because there were too many guys on this, one job for them to actually have in the same area. So they cut down their numbers. We didn't have very many guys at the time. We only had about 6 of us, so we all stayed working, which was nice. But definitely got more strict. They were signing people in, taking temperatures, requiring hand washing stations everywhere and things like that. So,
And sometimes, especially with the IBW being a mechanical trade, a lot of the mechanical trades are more highly unionized than the quote unquote hard hat trades. And so you'll have unionized workers right next to non-union workers. Do you see a big difference, especially when you think about the pandemic and health and safety between the unionized and non-unionized sectors?
yeah, there's definitely some difference there. Unions very strict with their safety rules usually. They have uh, safety guidelines that are written, policy. Sometimes the non-union don't really have a policy as far as that goes. They just, adhere to what general contractor requests them to use, hard hats and gloves and glasses, things like that. But practices wise, I think the union definitely does a better job of enforcing those rules. So.
And when you first started working in COVID, did you feel that you were protected and that you know, even though you were still working, you felt that the chances of you getting COVID was less?
I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I mean, it's so hard because when you're on a job, you have people from all over the place traveling. A lot of like, some trades have guys who travel constantly because there's such a, you know, there's just a small group of guys who do the work. Sometimes window guys travel from 2 hours away to do the job. So you have all these people traveling from all over the state to come to one job to do the work sometimes. And how do you know where they've been and what they've been exposed to and things like that? You can't, there's no way to filter that out. So.
Mm. Did you have enough like protective equipment though that you felt that so at the very least, obviously you can't control who you're working with, but that you could at least protect yourself?
Yeah, they provided hand washing stations. We had masks. We distanced as best we could as far as not working in the same rooms and things like that. So they definitely made it so we could continue the work and try to be as safe as possible when we were there.
And now that we've been through the pandemic through a few months, do you see any big differences between now and when we first started, the whole lockdowns and things like that?
I guess a little bit more lax on things, but even now on my job, we still have to sign people in and take temperatures. Even truck drivers, guys who are delivering material, we have to sign everybody in. So, and masks are still required if you're going to be close distance working with somebody. So that's, I don't think that's going to go anyway anytime soon, going to go away. But yeah, they're doing a decent job of, trying to keep everybody as distance as we can. And, I haven't heard of any cases anywhere near our job, so that's a good thing. Plattsburgh's kind of out there, so it's, it's a little bit more secluded, but
Well, true, but they've had issues with it in the prisons, and so there's a lot of prisons up there. So and somebody who works, especially because we have a lot of members up there at the hospital, and
right.
sometimes you do get that, and that's the thing. It's not just about us; it's about our connections and things like that. So,
Yeah.
but it's good that you're at least being protected, and that you are, they have, you're doing it the best you can, which is, I think, is what everybody's doing, just trying to do these the best they can.
Yeah. Nobody has the golden rule as to what works or what doesn't. So, we just do what we can, and that's all we can do.
I know that's really it really, but it all depends on us working together, and that's where I think being in a unionized, a workforce is different than a non-unionized workforce. Is that we have this, at least we're all in this together. The kind of
Right.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
that
And that's the other part of that. We get messages from our hall, that are telling, as far as what's an option for meetings, and what jobs are doing when they shut down, and how work's going to be affected by it, and things like that. So they're keeping us in the loop as best they can with what's going on too. So.
And you have a good local there. They do a really good job. And you can tell too, because in this area, most of the big electrical contractors are union, and that's because
Right.
your union organizes and things like. They really do a good job. So let me just say, so if there was if Amelia could wave a wand and change anything in her workplace, what would that be?
I would say definitely the hand washing stations, and you know, usually before the COVID, we never really had hand washing stations. They usually there's sanitizer in porta potties when they rent porta potties, but there's not really an actual place to wash your hands until the building's up and running, and that's toward the end of the job. So I think that's pretty important. And now that we have them, it's everybody's using them every day. It doesn't really take much for people to want to use them. It just needs to be available. So I think that's definitely important to to spend the extra money on. General contractor can front the extra money for that. It's really, in the big scheme of things, it's a small cost for what it is. So
Yeah, well, that's the thing I find with, especially with any boss. I don't care what industry it is, they'll always try to cut those costs. When it's like, if you just invest in it. I mean, look at this. Like I said, but now with COVID, you know,
yeah.
People on the work that normally wouldn't do it are washing their hands all the time, because that's what we're being told in order to stay healthy and stay safe. So.
Right.
So yeah, and that's one of the things. The other thing I've been saying in a lot of these is that we should be pushing for things like this now, because I mean, like, when you have something I would say catastrophic, like this, like with World War II, our life changed. This, I think our lives are going to change. So it's up
Oh,
to us to really
definitely.
determine how we're going to change it. So.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I hope I can find you a magic wand for that.
Me too.
Is there anything else that you would like to just say about yourself or your work or anything like that before we wrap up?
um I guess this is my first job. I'm actually running my first job up in Plattsburgh, and it's definitely more involved and more stressful and everything than I ever expected. But these guys, they really do a great job. I have two brand new kids who are just getting in from that local working with me, and they're doing so well. And it's now that I've topped out and I'm the one training, it's actually really rewarding. So it's been a pretty interesting experience. And I would say, I would advise kids who are interested to definitely go for it, because it's it's hands-on. It's not, if you're not college oriented, then it's a different way of learning. It's just a really it's a really great career. So.
And you don't have college loans.
Exactly. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
you end up, you pay your dues every year, and you're not paying for your education. So that's really rare.
Yeah, no, that tax deductible on your state taxes for
Mhm.
your union dues,
Yeah,
so you get that money back,
right.
and yeah, and not only that, but you also get paid a good wage, good benefits, and you have a pension. So
Mhm. Great retirement. Yep.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's, I mean, this is the way workers should be treated. And actually, it's interesting if you look at, and I'm a big history buff, is if you look at the history of the labor movement, it's like, the labor movement started as, things like that, craft trade unions and associations, things
Mhm.
like that. And then, during the industrialization, you had these big industrial unions like the United Auto Workers, Steel Workers, things like that. I think the
Mhm.
model actually is going more back towards what you're doing, where it's like your wages, your benefits are stable, but you go and you work in different places. We're
Yeah.
seeing some of that with traveling nurses. During the whole COVID, we have nurses going down to New York City, or actually some are going now down to Houston, where you're seeing the big
Well,
spikes. So you're seeing more and more of that. So I think that's kind of where the future is, in a way. It's back to the future. So.
yeah. Yeah, we do travel a lot. I mean, there's plenty of guys who that's all they do. They
Mhm.
enjoy the traveling, so they bounce from job to job and live on the road, and
Yeah.
they spend their time working out of their home state, which is really great. You get to experience all those places and do all kinds of different work, and it's a nice opportunity to have.
It is, and it's great that a young female like yourself is, is going into the trades, and hopefully, is going to be kind of the new face of the building trades going forward. So
Yeah.
it's really great to
Thank you.
see. Amelia, I want to thank you for your time and for doing this, and for all the work that you do, especially for your local.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.